qualify your recruits. And we have a guest speaker. Yay! Sarah's on with us. And Sarah is an amazing director from Ohio. And she's a 2019 facilitator. And you are also just named top 15 for sponsors in Ohio, correct?
Yes, yes.
So we are going to let you take it away.
All right. Hello, ladies. I first wanted to thank Jesse and Melissa for inviting me to chat with you guys. And I know that it's a lot of work to get in one of these groups and be on one of these groups. I just finished mine and that I was leading with my leaders, and it's really difficult. So good job on being in the group, being on it, and getting it done. That is awesome. Like Melissa said, I was named top 15 in Ohio for recruiting, which is crazy to me. I don't know. I know that Jessie was for her state also, and that is just like, when I got the email, didn't even make sense, because especially for me in Ohio, I got big hitters in Ohio, so kind of crazy, but super excited. And I love sharing about recruiting and sponsoring. I know we're supposed to call it sponsoring, but I still call it recruiting. It's one of my passion projects with 31. I have recruited about 130 people since joining 8 years ago. And that is just one of my favorite things about 31, is sharing the amazing things that it's done for me, what it has brought to my life, and then sharing it with other people so that they can go ahead and get the same things. It's probably one of the harder things to wrap your mind around. I tell my girls and anybody I talk to about recruiting that the main thing you need to do is make that conscious decision in your brain that you are going to recruit at least one person every month, no matter what, and that you are going to consistently do that. When I quit my full-time job in January of 2017, I told myself that I was going to recruit one person every month, no matter what. And I have been able to do that every month except for one. So I think when you make that commitment to yourself and you really make it a non-negotiable, that helps with the recruiting. And then you just make sure to ask every single person that you see. I know that we're going to talk mainly about qualifying, but I think that it's important to know the basis of how to get there so that you can get them to qualify. For me, when I went to conference several years ago, one of the main things that I heard was to ask people to join your team first, even before you ask them to host a party. So that is what I started to do, is ask someone to join as a consultant, because it's the best part about being in 31. That's number one. That's, the penthouse, as you could say. So I like to ask someone to join my team, and then if they say no to that, then I ask them to have a party. So they also kind of feel bad because they already told you no about joining. So usually they say yes to having a party, which is nice. And then I always make sure to ask them again about joining. So I usually ask someone approximately 3 times to join. The first time would be our first communication about 31, even if it's just casually at Target. And then the second time, if they say no to that first time, would be when they host their party. I would ask them about making it their launch party, and that I would still do it for them, all that good stuff. And if they still say no to that, then I will ask them again after we close their party. I do like to tell my hostesses, if this had been your party, you would have made X amount of dollars, along with all the rewards that you got. And that still gets them thinking about it. And even if it's not time right then, it's time later. So I really like to make sure to constantly reinforce the fact that being a consultant with 31 is the best thing about it. And once they do say yes, because you never know when they're going to say yes. I never take anybody completely off my list, unless they cuss me out, then they're gone. But that doesn't really happen. So I never really take anybody completely off my list. It's always, for me, every person that's in my VIP group, every person at a party is a potential consultant. And I think this is a really good day for this call, because a good example of that is that today, while I was out doing errands, I got an alert that somebody joined my team, and it was a girl that was a home office lead from 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, she put in a request to learn more about the business opportunity, and I have followed up with her over the past 2 years. She's been in my VIP group. She's been a friend on Facebook, seen everything. And she never said yes, ever. She just constantly would ask me questions about it. And then she joined today. So I reached out to her, and she said that it just finally made sense to join. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And I think it's good to never write them off. Once they do join and you got them, right? They joined. Now the main thing is getting them qualified, which I think is the hardest part about being a leader or being with 31 in general. As a leader sponsoring somebody, you think you have to do everything for them. You have to get them qualified, do their party, make them successful, everything, and you don't. It's not all on your shoulders. They have to take responsibility at some point for their own business, the same way you are taking responsibility for your business. So while we do want to help them and get them started, we don't want to take their lack of want or their lack of drive or lack of desire as your own personal failure, because it's not. It's what they're doing, what they're driving for at that moment. So if they're not as driven as you, then that's not on you, that's on them. So what I always do with my newest consultants is once they join, I get them into the team page that I have set up. And I know that you guys are not necessarily, obviously not directors yet, but even as senior consultant, you can start making a team page. It's totally up to you. And I encourage you to talk to your leader about when that's a good time for you to set one up. It's just nice to have a little community. So first, I make sure to get them in there. But secondly, which is something you could do with your recruits, is I use an app called Project Broadcast. I'm not sure if Jesse, honestly, I don't know if Jesse and Melissa use it. Jesse does. I don't know if they've talked about it, but Project Broadcast is my most favorite business tool I've ever come across with 31. And since Jesse uses, she can always give you guys her referral link and everything. But what I do is I set up a series of text messages that go out to them. And what's nice about Project Broadcast is you can schedule those messages to go on a certain day at a certain time. You can save the messages as templates so that you always have that message there just ready to click and send to somebody. You don't have to doctor it. So I, in my Project Broadcast, have a series of, I believe it's 5 messages with tips for them to get started. And I save them as templates on there. And like the first one I have, I just save it in a template as like newbie tip number 1. And I just say, hey, so-and-so, I'm going to be sending some new consultant tips to help you get your business hopping for the biggest selling season, which I always say. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. They don't know when the biggest selling season is, but apparently I think every year is, every month. Your first tip is get your customer group going. What's the name of your group? We're going to hopefully, Jesse and Melissa want, I can screenshot all of the messages that I send, and they can post them to you guys, but it's nothing crazy. It's just a series of 5 messages. So that's the first one. And I have them go out the first 5 days that they're consultants. I talk about the new the Facebook group for new consultants. I talk about the app for them to join or make sure they have that downloaded. I know about how to set up a party on their website. And then the last thing that I send them is about getting qualified. So I tell them getting qualified is your first big goal with 31. And I say, what does that mean? It means you've sold $1,000 and got your first level of Wishes rewards. And then I have a graphic of tips for new consultants. And I ask them how many of those tips have they completed. So while those messages are going out those first 5 days, I'm also working with them to make sure that we're setting up their launch party. And I know a lot of times this is difficult because you're like, I don't want to overwhelm them. They just joined. I don't want to push a party on them right away. But it's so important, as you guys know, to have that launch party first and foremost so that you can really launch your business off right. So I really encourage everyone to host a home launch party. I know that a lot of people are joining to do it full-time online, and that's fine. And I tell all of my new recruits, I know that you're joining to do all Facebook parties. I know that you're joining to have just a Facebook group and share with your friends and family, but let's do a home party to get you started, because you're going to qualify and get those rewards so much faster. You're going to be able to spread the news that you're a consultant so much faster at a home party, especially with inviting people to it. And then you're going to be able to book parties so much faster at a home party. So I like to really encourage them to do that. And if they're local to me and I can make it work, I will go do their first party for them. But if they're not local to me, because that happens a lot, or if the date just does not work with my calendar that they can do, then I just do my best to coach them through it. And I'll coach them the same way I do hostess coaching. So I'll send them and tell them to, make the event on Facebook, send out a text message to invite people, do your VIP people that you really want at that party. All the same stuff as if they're a hostess. So that first time I really make sure to treat them like a hostess, but again, they're doing it for their own launch party. And then I like to tell them, hey, how I helped you through this party, that's actually how I hostess coach. So you can use that with all of your parties coming up and hostess coach. And I always tell them to set a goal for themselves. So the same as a hostess. You want to try to get to at least $1,000 in sales, but I always give them $1,200 as their first goal for their party, their launch party, because then you get those 3 free hostess exclusives. You guys know how great that is. And even if they don't want it for themselves, they could use it as giveaways for hosting future parties with people. So I like to do that. Something else that I always do with new people that I recruit is I give them the goal of qualifying within their first 60 days. So somebody who joined in August, so like the gal that I had joined today, I will message her and let her know that if she qualifies by September 30th, I believe, then she will get $50 in free mystery products from me. So how that works is when she qualifies, she gets that $1,000 in sales. She's going to get her first level of Wishes rewards, and you're going to get 400 points in Wishes rewards, which is why it's so awesome also to recruit, because you get those 400 Wishes points. Then I go into my business supplies as soon as I get those rewards from her qualifying. Go into business supplies. I select the small hostess bundle, which I believe is like $15, and it's a $50 value, and I have it shipped directly to her, and then that's her reward. And it comes straight from the Wishes rewards that I earned from her, only $15 or $20 with the shipping. And then I still have all the other ones. It's so worth it. It gives them some drive to qualify quicker for you, for your incentives, for earning the cruise, or even just if you're trying to promote, to help you get closer to promoting quicker. So it's always nice to give an extra incentive. And I have just found over time that the best thing to do is to use business supplies to your advantage, have it shipped directly to their home, and go from there. So those are kind of my key points for recruiting and getting them qualified. I still, don't get me wrong, even though I recruit like crazy, I still have a hard time getting people qualified all the time. It's not the easiest thing to do. I don't think that there is any secret success to getting someone qualified, because at the end of the day, you can want it for them, but it's not going to do anything. It doesn't matter how much you want it for them. They're not going to work harder just because you want it. So the best thing to do is to find out their why, find out what's going to motivate them, and then make sure to remind them of that. So if their why is to have an extra $100 a month to pay for Starbucks, I guess you guys know what I'm clearly driven by. I have it right here. So if their why is to have an extra $100 a month to pay for their Starbucks addiction, then figure out how much they need to sell to reach that dollar goal. So I don't even know. I don't know why I picked 100, because usually I do something much easier for my brain to figure out. So let's say $250. They really like Starbucks. So if they need an extra $250 a month, then they need to enter $1,000 in sales every month. And so it's nice if you give them that number, like, hey, you want an extra $250 a month? Easy. You enter $1,000 in sales every month, and you'll get that $250. I have a girl on my team that needs $400 for daycare, and that is her goal. So she makes sure to enter her $600 in sales every month so that she gets the $400 she needs for daycare so that she can continue to work part-time at her day job so she can stay home with her baby the other half the time. And then she only has to pay for half daycare. So it's really nice to have that specific monetary number that they can grab onto and focus and go to. And then also when they're not hitting it, you can remind them. You have that noted down somewhere. I am a big proponent of random notes. I have just a spiral bound notebook that I write random notes on random pages about. Nothing crazy. Nope. I don't do any binder stuff. I lose everything. So the notebook's the way to go for me. And I just make sure to note back to that. So I could be like, oh, Susie said that she needs $200 or $250 a month, and she's only had $100 in sales, and it's already the 20th. I better check with her and see if she needs help. So yeah, those are my suggestions. Does anybody have any specific questions for me? That's the fun part. Now you're all on.
They're all muted. I muted them all.
Yeah, right.
Here, Melissa. Kathy, you want me to unmute you, or you can do it yourself? Kelly, you too. I like what you said about figure out what motivates them to get them qualified. Is that what you said? Is that how you said that? Because I only caught the first half of it. What motivates them to get them qualified? So it could be the product, it could be the cash, it could be just that time that they want for themselves. So that's something to wrap your brain around. This is about them. This is not about you. And to remember that as well. And I think we've talked about that before, or maybe it's just in my head from all the years that I've been a consultant, but that's definitely something you have to keep in the forefront of when you are recruiting. And it's really hard, especially when you're trying to earn incentives. It's really really hard. Well, I missed the Maui trip by $400 because I didn't say, hey, could you just do that for me? But it's not about that. It's about them and what they can do and what they want to do. So, and I still, I'm going on 9.5 years right now, and it's a struggle with that. But sometimes I have to put that in like a reality check in my head too. A lot of times. So what motivates them to get them qualified? That's the question. I think that should be the number one question everybody needs to think about when you do want to move forward with your business. That's how I want to say that.
Yeah, that's important too, to remember what you said about it being about them and not you. That's also important when they stop selling. If they don't qualify, it's about them. It's not about you. It's not that you didn't train them enough. It's not that you didn't give them enough help. It's that they didn't want to do it. So don't beat yourself up if somebody joins your team and then doesn't do anything with it. It's not you. That's all them. And I mean, I'm sure the other two gals have had the same situation, Melissa and Jessie, but I have had many of those consultants that I've recruited, a revolving door of joining and leaving without doing anything. And some of them even saying like, this just doesn't work for me. And constantly like, well, you didn't do X, Y, Z that I told you to do. So again, it's not you, it's them. And it's not going to be for everybody, but
right.
I think it's good to offer it to everybody so that they can see if it's for them.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Anybody else? Had somebody who joined and she was going to do a home party and I was going to help her do it. Now she wants to just do, hey, is it just an online party that I can do? No. But Melissa's laughing because it's my niece and I'm going to make her do it.
Exactly. There you go. And even if it wasn't your niece, you know what I tell people about Facebook when they say that? I'm like, listen, for real, Facebook is so much harder. I just don't want you to do that. I just don't want you to start off with the hardest thing, which is a Facebook party, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to do the party for her. So, I mean, it's kind of like a win-win. Dude, I'm making you money.
Right. I'm basically giving you free money.
Yeah. I'm such a nice aunt.
You are.
Anybody else? Kelly, do you got any questions for us?
I don't think so. I want to see those tips and messages or whatever when you get them screenshotted, but
We'll get them to you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that. And honestly, they're just super broad, so they don't even cover everything, I don't think. But I figure it's a good start. And then they also have that idea of where to go. And it sometimes just motivates them with some questions that maybe they didn't know they were going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I will screenshot them, and I will get the links and everything and the pictures to Melissa and Jesse so they can, so they can help you, give you guys that.
that's the part I feel like I always have the most trouble with because there's just so much stuff to share. I feel like I'm just overloading everybody.
I still feel the same way Kelly, a lot of times. I still feel that way. So, I mean, I think it's just because there's so many things that you're like so excited about. And you got to just do this, and then you're like, whoa, that probably was way too much. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a big word vomiter, and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, if I ever give you too much information and you're overwhelmed, tell me to stop. But don't reply stop on Project Broadcast because you'll never get a message again.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm sending those over.
I see that.
But yeah, if anybody ever has any questions or anything, you guys can always reach out to me on Facebook. I don't mind.
Okay.
I don't mind. I love recruiting. It's my favorite thing about the business. So I'm always willing to brainstorm recruiting with anybody.
I don't know of anything else. Do you, Melissa? I mean,
No,
I like
that was
I
fabulous. Thank you.
Oh,
I said that was fabulous.
It was. That my favorite one was what motivates them to get them qualified. And I love your tip about, and as a leader already, I can probably do this. The business supply bundle to them. If you do this, you get this. I've done in the past just giving them honestly a $50 gift card back because sometimes it's not about the product, it's about the money. So it would be a Visa gift card. I purchased at Dollar General or whatever, and I would send that to them if they did it for a certain amount, at that time. But I think I'm gonna have to step up my game for this cruise myself. So.
I like to use the product regardless of what motivates them, because if they're motivated by money, I tell them to turn around and sell that product.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay.
Yep. Or to use it as a hostess
Sure.
prize to get party, something like that. So I just use the same thing always. It just makes it easier for me to keep track of, to make sure that I'm always doing it, to make sure it doesn't overwhelm me, because you want to do something that's easy for you to duplicate. Because if you have a big month, like if they do dollar enrollment and you get 13 people to enroll and you're trying to keep track of all 13 of those people and what motivates them, and they all qualify at the same time, then your brain will explode.
That is true.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Well, we appreciate it so much, Sarah. Thank you for taking the time out to jump on here with us tonight. We appreciate it. And then the other two girls that aren't on tonight, hopefully they will catch the recording tomorrow. I will post that. So, so we appreciate it. Anything else, Melissa? I guess we'll post homework.
Yeah, we'll post it.
We haven't discussed that either, so. But we'll post the homework too. And I guess that's it. So thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a good week.
You too.